Hi, I hope everybody is safe and healthy at home. This video is how to survive and thrive during shelter in place when you have diabetes. It is for informational purposes only, so please talk to your regular healthcare provider for individualized healthcare advice. And this represents opinion of myself and does not represent opinion of my organization. So, we're going to talk about hydration, why. We're going to talk about diet. We're going to talk about exercise and the mental portion of how to thrive during shelter in place. Okay, first of all, life is really different right now. I'm hearing a lot of people forgetting to hydrate enough in their new life being at home. The reason why this is important is because of the risk of diabetic ketoacidosis, DKA. Which is a phenomenon of your ketones building up, making your blood acidic. It happens when your sugar's sky high, right? Like 500, 600. But it could happen at a lower sugar, like even normal sugar or upper end of the normal sugar, if you also are sick with an infection or if you are really dehydrated. So it kind of tips things over, and you may have symptoms like weakness, fatigue, and you could have nausea, abdominal pain, like GI symptoms, which gets obviously confusing because that could be symptoms of many other things, including COVID. So we want to avoid DKA at all costs. And first of all, you should check and make sure that you have urine ketone strips at home and that they're not expired. If they're expired, just write to your healthcare provider and say, hey, can you ship me some urine ketone strips? They're also over the counter too. So if you want to just wear your mask and go to a pharmacy and get one, you can get that. But just make sure you have those at home. And of course, get a big jug of water and make sure that you try to get to the bottom of the jug by the end of the day. Just make sure you hydrate in general, and that's just for overall health, but especially for diabetes, you want to avoid DKA. So that's one. Second thing around diet, your food habits have probably changed drastically. You're probably not going to the restaurants. You're probably eating at home a lot, which could be a good thing. I've heard some people say that because they're eating at home, they're just I guess the food is very different. It's naturally just smaller in portions and maybe slightly healthier choices without too much hidden sugars and hidden salt. So their sugars are better controlled when cooking at home. I've heard that. Also, at the same time, I'm hearing a lot of munching all day, every day at home. Especially those people who are working at home. So if you're munching at home, obviously try to get more healthier choices of munchies, which we could do a different video about at your home. And you do have to bolus for them. Even if you're eating little by little and you end up eating a lot of carbs, you do have to bolus for them. There's also factor of eating without being hungry. You're eating because you're bored, because you're sheltering in place. You're eating because you're lonely, because you're sheltering in place. You're eating because you're stressed because of this pandemic. And those are all like very, very common reasons why people eat. So to bring that awareness, you could either do one or two things. I mean, one, there's many apps for that about eating awareness. You could get one of those, or you could ask yourself simply, am I hungry? Am I hungry? Why am I eating? And just answer it honestly, and then you're allowed to eat. Or you could set a timer, so you could just say, okay, I'm not hungry, but I really feel like munching on something. So you set a timer for, say, 15 minutes later, and you drink some water. Ooh, water. Maybe have some low carb snacks at that point. less than 5 grams that don't need bolusing, and you wait. And when the timer rings, if you're still hungry, if you still have the desire to eat, then at that point you're allowed to eat. But just by delaying that gratification, it kind of cuts off the cycle of, I'm bored, reaching out for food, I just want to eat something, reaching out for food, that cycle. So using a timer, kitchen timer, or your phone is one way. Um, if you are one of the people who has lost income, or who are suffering from food insecurities, or you just simply don't want to go to the grocery store and you don't have fresh produce around, just a few things to keep in mind is that frozen vegetables are very easy to cook because you don't have to wash them, you don't have to cut them. It comes in a bag, and it does retain most of the nutritional content from prior to being frozen. So frozen vegetables are very good. I know they're pretty sold out at many places. Initially, in the first 2 weeks, now I see them much more frequently available. So look for frozen vegetables. Beans are, they count as like half carb, half protein. They're relatively inexpensive, especially if you buy the dry ones and you're willing to soak them overnight. So think about buying beans as your protein and carb source would be affordable and also really healthy as well. And of course, looking to local food banks if those are the needs for you. So those are some tips on the food and about moving your body, about exercises. So you are not going to the gym, I hope. And I'm talking to my New York City friends, and they're really literally stuck in their studio apartment or 2-bedroom apartment with their entire family. And I do feel very fortunate that things tend to be bigger spaced here in California. Walking is an excellent exercise, and I was talking to a personal friend who is on dialysis, and he was walking. He didn't want to go outside, so he was walking between kitchen and living room, which is 15 steps for him, for 90 minutes a day. So that was very impressive, and it just made me reframe the thinking that, my house is too small to exercise. There is no such thing. If you might be lucky enough to have a strip of yard outside, you may be lucky enough to have a neighborhood that you can walk in. You may be lucky enough to have 15 steps between kitchen and living room. And you may be able to lower your post-meal blood sugar that way, for example. Listen to your audiobook, be creative, any methods that get you going. If you go on YouTube and you look for exercise videos, you can find tons. You could do chair yoga. If you like yoga, there's Do Yoga With Me is a good series. If you have kids and they're driving you nuts, the Exercise with Kids videos. Some of them are pretty funny and can get your couch potato kids moving, and you can move with them. What else? I've heard of people saying that they've had standing desk at work, but at home they don't. You can actually buy a kind of a accordion telescoping thing on Amazon or wherever, for maybe $30, that would convert your sitting desk into a standing desk height. So it's not going to move the whole desk, but you can put your computer or whatever you're working on at that height. So that is one way to prevent yourself from sitting all day at home. And yes, I touched my face. My hands are clean, I swear. And then last but not least, the mental aspect of things. It is a very, very hard time for all of us. There are things we can control and there are things we can't. So, brainstorming about the things that we can control, We can control how much news we watch. News is important source of information, but how much? Um, Connection and gratitude, connectedness to your loved ones is important for sanity. So do go ahead and reach out to the people that are important to you. I know some people have found meditation apps like Headspace helpful. If you want completely free ones, there's plenty of free ones, and also on YouTube videos as well. Some people find journaling to be helpful, writing out your honest fears first, and then when things are, when things are getting out of your system, go back to it a few days later with a red pen. And if you notice that in your writing and in your thinking from a few days ago, there were some irrational things like, oh, this is never going to end, and it's always going to be this way, you can cross that out and just bring your rational, few days later, wiser self to write down the statement that is more rational and closer to truth, that reflects the benign reality, which is probably not as bad as your original statement. Um, so those are some suggestions to thrive during this pandemic and children home. Lastly, but very importantly, your lifestyle has changed a lot. So I think a lot of us will need adjustments in if you take insulin, a lot of you will need adjustments in insulin amount, maybe on the ratios that you take, maybe in the amount of daily basal or pump adjustments. So if you notice that because of your lifestyle change, you may need adjustment and you want help with that, definitely reach out. Talk to your healthcare provider, talk to me, if I'm your healthcare provider, talk to me, and make an appointment, phone appointment, and we will go from there. And if you have any questions, let me know if I am a healthcare provider, and please stay safe and healthy. Bye bye.